Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to make some short remarks in response to the statement by our Speaker. But with all due respect, Mr. Speaker, I think it is appropriate that when we are debating particular reports, whether they be final budget outcomes or mid-year economic fiscal outlook reports, we need to actually cite the report. And we need to be given an opportunity to be able to respond to the details in that report. It's not sufficient just to refer to a sort of unannounced publication on the Treasury website, and we're here attempting to talk sense with a report that we have not cited yet. So bearing that in mind, and bearing in mind that the Treasurer has made a series of statements relating to different aspects of the economy, the COVID, so-called COVID acquittals, and different ad hoc statements on the economy, it's difficult to make a comprehensive response. We end up making ad hoc responses to a very plain and simple statement that continues to seem to be just based on blaming the former government continuously without the numbers sort of adequately behind it, or indeed an approach that he keeps putting to Parliament that seems to be just heavily weighted on debt and justifications for more debt. We are now 18 billion kina into debt, added 63% to our debt stock in Papua New Guinea. We've exhausted pretty much every avenue for borrowing around the world, and yet we are patting ourselves on the back saying it's our credibility, and they're giving it to us because we form credible approaches to the economy and so forth. The reality is we're surviving on international help because they're coming to our rescue, because we're stuck. We can't help ourselves. On the back of COVID, we've got no money, so the lenders of last resort, like IMF, come in and rescue us as part of an international rescue package for developing countries that can't help themselves at this stage. That's the reality. That we use all kinds of rhetoric to blame so that we can somehow get credit for it. We are thankful for this support from the international partners, but they're stepping in because we are stuck as an international effort.
We have a point
to
of
help
order.
all COVID-suffering countries.
Honourable Member, we have a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry to apologize to interject with the member for Alatau, but they keep repeating the same statement of IMF, a last resort. So on account that he has been the Treasurer and the former Prime Minister, perhaps they can provide a clause or policy in the IMF that states, we are the last resort, because I can't find any. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Alatau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, look, the reality is, what is the purpose of the IMF? The institution of the IMF is set up with member countries contributing, being more primarily the developed countries of the world, contribute there, and the primary function of the IMF is to step in when developing countries have balance of payment issues. They're struggling to sustain their budgets, they're struggling to meet their international obligations. That's the primary function of the IMF. You see, so in fulfilling that mandate, it's stepping in when countries like us are stuck with our backs to the wall. That's the function of the IMF. It's not there as a commercial lender to those of us coming to them proposing to borrow from them to access their cheap financing. That cheap financing is made available by developed countries to developing countries that are in balance of payment crisis. That's the function of the IMF. The COVID is an extraordinary circumstance, but leading to such situations. They're stepping in as sort of the lender of last resort to countries that are in such situations. It's not just Papua New Guinea. There's a whole range of developing countries that are in such a position, exacerbated by COVID. But coming to the COVID point, because we love to blame COVID. And yes, COVID is extraordinary. It is causing pain all around the world. But I say to us here in Papua New Guinea, sometimes when I look at the situation, are we overreacting to COVID? Thousands of our people have been put out of jobs, shutting down all sorts of industries, bringing in all these new restrictions. Yes, we are trying to be responsible in our response, but after 1 year, 2 years, when we're seeing the actual effect of COVID in Papua New Guinea, are we overreacting to it? Are we making ourselves suffer unnecessarily? Are we using COVID as sort of something to blame everything on COVID, to give us excuses for some of these restrictions? What is actually happening with COVID in the country? It would be nice to see how many thousands and thousands of people have died from COVID so far. That we are going to the extent of stopping people's jobs. Hundreds. Is it going to be thousands of people stopped accessing work? We've already put thousands of people out of job through Pogara and shutting down the forestry industry, using COVID. Now we're stopping people from accessing work, saying no jab, no job. Let's think about it. Are we causing unnecessary pain on our people using this COVID? I mean, let's really look at it. What pain is this COVID response causing against the actual COVID causing? People are going hungry today. We are putting people off jobs. But I haven't seen hospitals full of COVIDs, and certainly down in Millen Bay, people are getting on with life as normal here. COVID is like something that I will not believe in COVID now, yeah? So we just got to think, because again, budgetary-wise too, economy is struggling, people are losing jobs, we are putting all kinds of extraordinary measures on our people. But what is the reality of the COVID effect in Papua New Guinea? We need to understand. Mr. Speaker, we continue. What we want from the government is some kind of economic response. It's no good to say we got COVID, everything is struggling, so you may just borrow more. We shut down Pogara. Papua LNG gas agreement was signed. Already, look, Tirab construction. We had the Wafi Golpu project 2 has been pending. You may got Frida River stop. You may look at the Solwara project. Forestry industry, we sort of up in this log export tax levy gone up to 60%. Thousands of jobs were also lost through this one. We got so many resources, but we seem to be only talking about COVID and borrowing. We have borrowed 18 billion so far. It's been 2.5 years, 3 years. We need to look at some of the solution and option rather than borrowing only. Because plenty of opportunities stop, but we're just not accessing them. We seem to think that only option is to borrow. No, we got plenty of opportunity. I think we just need to take a serious look at some of the opportunities before us, and you may concentrate. Treasury, you're talking about the economy. Concentrate on some of the opportunities that we could have seized them rather than delay, go, and then we are talking about the only option is debt. My concern is in the next budget, you exhausting all our opportunity for borrowing. Time you go back to IMF or World Bank or ADB or Australia, Japan, nobody talking up now. People come to limit finish. And then we are stuck now because how are we going to fund the budget? You may borrow 6 billion, 7.2 billion, 6 billion again 2021. 2022, but I want them now. Because we are not progressing some of the other options in the picture. We are just borrowing. Okay, now you talk like Taksim Central Bank now. Go inside, like, change law regulation. You by forcing central bank law, borrowing in law government. That's the danger. Because you become law desperate now. The last thing you may going to touch him central bank. So let's be very careful, responsible. Now look at all the options on the table. Let's get some economic projects moving. Open up the forestry industry. Tourism is down, order something down. And you may looking at like COVID now. We're overemphasizing on COVID, I think, trying to do the right thing. But reality stopped, now people are suffering. So what we just want is a bit more balance in this, rather than blaming the former government and talking about the reason for debt and all this. Good luck, you may balance him legally to bring some of the other positive. God has blessed us with so many things, but I think we're not really taking advantage of some of those opportunities. So anyway, Mr. Speaker, we will look closely at the MAIFO and come up with some more comprehensive response to a declining economy and a rising debt and rising unemployment, and do our best to make a constructive debate. But otherwise, we look forward to a bit more constructive solutions to this, the pain and suffering our people are going through today. Thank you.